Hey, everybody. It's Thursday night, May 1st.
Is that what it is?
I'm like, what happened to the time? Scott Fishman is here from TV Insider et al. And we have a packed show because there's a lot of wrestling news and a lot of hot topics this week that kind of all happened, which we'll get to in a minute. But we do have a special guest tonight. Santana Garrett from WUW Women of Wrestling is with us in an interview about her upcoming Three's Company May 3rd main event match on WUW Saturday night in syndication. In the long-awaited triple match showdown, David McLean pits Santana Garrett, Genesis, and Paola, the Colombian goat, against one another for a shot at the championship from IQ Samantha Smart's The Classmaster. And we had The Classmaster on last week.
Yeah. When you said Three's Company, I was picturing, the show.
Ritter. They're wrestling women.
Suzanne Summers. Oh, Suzanne Summers. She passed away last year, right?
Yeah. I mean, funny about that show, I hated it when it was originally on. I was not a fan.
Like the whole series, or when they switched out Chrissy?
The whole series. I just wasn't. I don't know. I wasn't into it.
Yeah.
I was watching regional wrestling.
Yeah.
I was watching like AEW, that kind of thing. There's so much to talk about. I have to get right into this. I love catching up with Scott on this because he has such great things to say. But I was like, what is this Hulk Hogan Eric Bischoff thing? And they come out with a viral video this week, and they're redoing the NWO, and it's Hulk Hogan, Hollywood Hulk Hogan, and Eric Bischoff, but now aged 25 years later, 30 years later. And they do this promo and they cut this thing, and there's a third man, and you're like, what's going on? And so what did you originally think was going on? What was your immediate reaction to seeing that? Were you like, oh, this is cool. Oh, this looks like has-been time. Oh, they're going back to one of the wrestling. Like, what did you think?
I kind of was with a lot of other people, and I thought it was going to be another podcast that was launching with Hogan and Bischoff, like Bischoff hosting and Hogan kind of being a part of it. So that's kind of what I was kind of agreeing with a lot of other people that because I didn't think in a million years it was going to be like another wrestling promotion or some other big project like that. Because, I think I remember Eric Bischoff saying that he didn't want to get involved like day to day sort of thing, maybe in a wrestling project, but this is kind of different. This is a different animal, so I get it. But
well, there is the thing that I'm confused about, and maybe you could shed light on this. So Hulk Hogan in the WWE, does he have one of those Legends contracts with them? Is he with them or he's not with them? No, because I'm confused about
it's hard for me to say because I know from licensing standpoint, he could have some sort of deal or something with them when it comes to like certain licensing of certain products. But they definitely have a partnership with the Real American Beer brand, so they definitely have some sort of deal with them. But it's interesting. He made comments. I think it was Fox and Friends or something like that. It
was Fox and Friends today. I was dying, and they slammed him. And there's an article in the Daily Mail, which I'll get to too, how they tore into how he looked. They just went in on Hogan.
Yeah, a lot of people have been saying that. But at the same time, you're getting old. He's getting old. I mean, he is old, or older, I should say.
100%.
But he's been hitting the ground with this beer. Like he's been burning the midnight oil, I'm sure. It was funny because I was at his Hogan's Hideout in Orlando.
Right.
Was it last week or the week before? I'm trying to think. So they have this Sandcastle Festival. So it's in Clearwater. So anytime I go to Clearwater, like we're walking around and you see Hogan's Hangout, which is kind of like an offshoot of Hogan's Beach, which was the restaurant that was open in Tampa a while back. But on Monday nights, they do a karaoke night. And in the past, Nick Hogan was there. Jimmy Hart would host. Hogan, I was told, is there about 90% of the time. So I don't know if he was there that night, but because it was WrestleMania weekend, of course. So I'm not sure where he was. But I don't know if he was at WrestleMania any of the things. But regardless, I just thought that was funny when it was brought up. But a lot of people are talking about, sunken face. I mean, he had the
I wasn't thinking
beard thing.
Yeah, I wasn't thinking that. I didn't immediately think that.
Yeah.
What I'm more annoyed by is what this ended up being, because my first thing was, and I'll get into that. So I see this video, and at first I'm like, wait, where are they going with, like, where is this going to be? And then they mentioned the third man, and it was like they're trying to drum up this whole thing. And I'm like, are they going to WC? Like, where? What league is this in? Is this AW? Is it TNA? I didn't know. It's like, is this WWE? Like, what is this? To then find out that they've launched Real American Freestyle, an unscripted freestyle wrestling league with storytelling and colorful characters. It looks to blend, and they release the blend of drama, pro wrestling, and reality shows with the unscripted competition of freestyle wrestling. The first league of its kind has already announced former UFC fighter Ben Askren, former Olympian and world champion Kennedy Blades, and former national champion Zahid Valencia. And then the third man turns out to be Israel Martinez, who will serve as the CEO. And so I'm like, okay. So then when they were asked on Fox and Friends today, they're like, so when is it on? And their answer was, our first show is in Cleveland. So they don't have a TV deal, right?
Yeah, but, Eric Bischoff with Jason Hervey, they have a huge successful track record. People may forget they sold so many shows back in the day. They have so many connections. I actually am confident that they will find a home for this. Hulk Hogan, whether you love him or hate him, has found this renewed popularity, not among wrestling fans, but Trump, MAGA people as well. So they will support this. That's why he was on Fox and Friends. I mean, they're gonna stand behind him because he stands behind the president, and love or hate him, that way he's a great politician in himself for Hogan. And when the name Hulk, whether yes, he's been through a lot and a lot of things, controversial things, and I think time heals all wounds, and a lot, whether you like it or not, people tend to have they don't have a long-term memory of a lot of things. So when years and years go by, they sometimes, things get through. And I think the name Hulk Hogan, people still will associate that as a viable name. So having him behind us.
Yeah. I wanted to read this too. So it goes, more details about the adventure were provided by the Associated Press and Forbes, with Hogan revealing he conceived the idea while watching Oklahoma State wrestler Wyatt Henderson defeat Minnesota standout and former WWE star Gable Stevenson to win the NCAA National Championship. Hogan, Bischoff, and Martinez hoped to involve both Henderson and Stevenson in RFAFWI, which they say will consist of 8 men classes and 4 women classes. So far, only Olympian silver medalist Kenny Blade is committed to the league. Do you understand this? So it's going to be like, and then they said on Fox and Friends, they're going to tell like the, gut-wrenching stories behind the scenes of, so you have a hate or love for the particular competitor.
Yeah, backstories,
which I understand. But what is it? What do they do? Is it wrestling?
It seems like they're doing, amateur wrestling, but kind of with the pro wrestling presentation. That's kind of how I see it.
I do too.
But it's interesting. Like, it's not a novel. I mean, it's a novel concept in a sense, but it's also not a novel concept. I mean, if you look at, I don't know, I'm think of American Ninja Warrior, where they're, they tell the backstories and it's this competition and you kind of have the characterization, but I mean, I don't know what they're planning on doing, like storylines. Like, are they going to like embellish backstage feuds?
They mentioned on the Fox and Friends that when they were talking about what will the moves be, there's going to be some leeway with the rules that they can do some controversial moves that would play into the hype of the show. So Bischoff was very clear they will create all sorts of drama for it.
Yeah.
So I don't know. So they say the first show will be in Cleveland. Why is everything in Cleveland?
I mean, I had fun in Cleveland, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
But everything's in Cleveland.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Maybe it's the affordability of the venue or whatnot. But I think it's interesting that you brought that up with Hogan saying he was inspired by
Yes.
the Wyatt Hendrickson upset, because that was like a month ago, right? It wasn't even that long ago. You had this idea, and it's already kind of. So
Right.
I'm really actually very impressed that this idea was apparently born a month ago, and now it's turning into this whole big thing. It's
Right.
like
And I think for Bischoff, who's such a creative mind and a marketing guy, really, he probably was like, because he hasn't been doing anything, right? Or has he been doing?
I mean, he's been making his appearances. He does his podcasts, a lot of his YouTube show and things like that. But nothing like day to day like this sort of thing.
So
he even said it's one of his biggest challenges he's facing as a career coming up. So we'll see how that goes.
So I have an Eric Bischoff story, and this is my Eric Bischoff story. So after I wrote for the WWE, I really wanted to work for WCW. But WCW was kind of on that last half of it wasn't doing great. And I had a meeting with Eric Bischoff at the Four Seasons Hotel in Los Angeles. We set it up. I remember meeting with him. We had a really good conversation, but I remember there ended up being, instead of me just talking to Eric, 4 other guys, maybe Jason Hervey too, all showed up. So the conversation just got like
muddled
away from me to like whatever. And I remember meeting him, Jason Hervey, and that group, because my goal, I loved WCW back then, because I told you, like, Sting was my favorite. I loved the whole Monday Night Wars. I loved like all of it. And I loved that. Actually, I loved Nitro better at the time. So I had used the fact that I had worked with WWE to get my meeting with Eric. And I don't know, I've not talked to him in 20 years, but these are the lengths I went to, Scott Fishman.
You got to hustle.
I had to hustle. And at that time, I was trying to work as a writer or producer any way I could in pro wrestling, because I, loved it so much. And I thought I had a good head on my shoulders for it. Fast forward, I've always watched what Eric's been doing, and I watch his podcast. I mean, I see everything he still keeps in there. So I think, to your point, it might be successful. Maybe we're thinking, first I thought, oh my God, this is going to be such a bad thing, but maybe we're wrong.
I mean, these ideas, people laugh at it, but look at Honey Boo Boo, look at Duck Dynasty, like all these other shows got bought and sold. Wrestling, like they said on the show, like wrestling is hot right now. People are looking for content. People are looking for pretty cheap content, and this could be that sort of thing, something out of the box. So I can definitely see this. At least, I mean, Power Slap had a primetime slot on TBS, TNT, or whatever, the Turner Network. So I wouldn't be surprised to see this on somewhere. So,
and do you think there would be any problem? Do they have to steer clear of like an A&E or a CW, anywhere that has kind of a deal with WWE and all that? They'd have to stay away from that, you think?
I don't know if there's not like a non-compete clause when it comes. It's not like it's pro wrestling. It's like its own little animal, I think.
Right, like a reality.
And yeah, like I almost find this. I almost can see this on like one of the Discovery Channel, or because they also did the micro wrestling too not that long ago. So I don't think it lasted more than one season, but they have had some interest. They're open-minded. I will say that at the Discovery Network, they'll try things. They have an open mind. So I can actually see that a network like that biting on this idea. And the fact that I give them all the credit in the world, because they've generated a lot of press in the last day.
Huge press all over the place.
TNA, AEW, all these places would love this kind of press. And that's the reason why TNA signed Hulk Hogan back in the day, because they knew it would get them some sort of publicity. But back then, which they got to be careful right now, if Hogan is all in on this thing, then we need to see him wearing the Raf t-shirts. We need to see him like being out there, and it's great. But I remember even back when he was working for TNA, James Durbin, I don't know if you remember from American Idol, like he was on the show and everyone knew he was a big Hulk Hogan fan, big wrestling fan. Hulk Hogan, the biggest show in the world at the time, American Idol, he comes on the show, doesn't even wear a TNA shirt, and it could have been a big moment for him to promote the company, and he didn't do it. So that's my only call out, is like, if he's going to be putting him at the forefront of this as the commissioner or whatever role they're going to give him, then they definitely need to kind of utilize that.
I can see them doing, he's the commissioner, but he's a bad commissioner. Like, he's, they do underhanded things.
Oh yeah, he's a natural villain right now. People love to hate him. But if you're gonna lean into the Trump sort of side of things and the that sort of thing, then maybe he's not gonna be such a villain, like in the eyes of whatever audience he's going for.
I don't know. I think they're gonna do bad things.
This is one of the things, there's no in between. It's either gonna be very successful or it's gonna crash and burn. So it's gonna go all in or just crash and burn. So I like, normally people are already like, there's other people out there that are crapping on this and things like that. But if you're within the TV industry and you've seen what gets greenlit and ideas and things like that, they have some legit people behind this, and they have some legit athletes behind this. And the name Hulk Hogan still brings value to people. So when someone says there's a project attached with Hulk Hogan, they're going to be like, oh, that's interesting. I want to work for this, whether you like him or not, you don't agree with certain things. But it's the entertainment business. So we'll see what happens.
Well, there are other crappy reality shows that shouldn't be on, in my opinion, either, that have stupid, reality hybrid stuff that I can't even stomach. So this can fit right in there.
Yeah. I mean, he had the XWF. I don't know if you remember that.
Of course I do. Of course.
I still want to have that. I still haven't seen those shows, and I want to get the DVD. That's like, the DVD has like the entire like run of that, and the names, the talent and part of that show, just incredible. So even Kurt Hennig was part of that. So so that these Bischoff, the Hogan ideas, they just come percolate every couple years. So
then we have the big news about our girl Liv Morgan. So everybody was kind of like, what is she doing? What movie is she doing? Where is she going? And it was announced she's joined the cast of Bad Lieutenant Tokyo, a thriller film. It's like a thriller horror film. And so she's going to be off for several weeks filming this movie, which means what happens to the WWE Tag Team Championship. And she is, they said the movie's going to be released in North America at some point. And we know that Liv has wanted to act more, correct? Isn't that the whole thing with her?
I mean, she has representation, just like a lot of the WWE wrestlers have representation now. So it's not surprising to see these projects when you have the representation to have someone kind of going and pitching you and, putting your name out there and, having a really good track record so far, because they're all being represented by Paradigm. And if you look at all the names that are being a part of that and the gigs that they're getting, so the proof is in the pudding here, because there's some real legit names behind it. I mean, I'll be honest though, when the report initially came out, they're making this, like, they're putting a lot of pressure on Liv, like the media, the pro wrestling media. They were like hinting at it. This is going to be a game changer. This is going to be the it girl. This is going to be, like, can she at least get this under her belt? Like, yeah, there's some legit names. I mean, you have Lily James a part of this. And, Neon is like a great film company that Nora, I don't know if you've seen that. That's a crazy AF movie, but won all the Academy Awards and things like that. So, I don't know what I was expecting. A lot of people were talking about, that was kind of quelled the reports are like, oh, she's going to be like Harley Quinn, or she's going to be
right. Everyone was saying it was in a Marvel movie. Just to say, the case in the movie centers on the disappearance of a politician's daughter played by Liv Morgan.
Yeah.
Right. So there's an FBI agent played by Lily James, and then there's the disappearance of the daughter who's Morgan. At the same time, a killer involved in Japanese organized crime appears to be shadowing their moves. So I was with you. Wouldn't it have been great if she was like in a Harley Quinn type thing, right? Like, it seemed like it was going to be this bigger thing. than
But
this.
it's interesting because she's going a different route where all the other wrestlers they started out in the big action comedy scenes. Because let's be honest, when you see professional wrestler, you're not taken that seriously. But I think thanks to like Dave Batista and others, like mostly him, you're seeing that yes, they can act. They have these big dramatic roles on television, so they can do all this great stuff, and they have the range. So I would love to know about Liv's kind of audition process and how she presented herself and things like that, and to show that she has more depth to herself than just playing like some action person.
Right. I mean, I'm thinking she's very photogenic, so I would think she would probably
That definitely has something to do with it.
Also, on that note, Scott, the Smashing Machine with The Rock, that promo came out this week, and I was wondering what you thought about it. What I wanted to ask you is, it's so hard because The Rock is such a big, powerful, like big guy. So it's kind of hard. You're looking at this guy kind of altered his face a little in the makeup, but I'm like, is this really enough to make us not think this is The Rock? Or does anyone not really care? Because everyone loves The Rock. He's the #1 box office star. So what did you think when you saw the promo? And do you think that movie will be, a success? What I mean by that, and will people see The Rock in a different light from that movie?
Yeah, well, if what the response, and if you look at the comments on the A24 post for the preview for the trailer for it, a lot of people are like, "Oh my God, this is going to be The Rock. If The Rock's going to have a chance of getting a Golden Globe or Oscar, yeah, this is it." And and history has shown for Academy Awards is when stars like change their appearance or they go like method or whatever the reason, like they have a better chance of scoring that sort of thing. But he's definitely showing a little bit more emotion and I don't know, a more dramatic turn that we've seen from him in this sense. Yeah, it's kind of like a fighter and he's still kind of a big guy and he's like, in a fighting format, but it seems like there's a lot more to this than that. So by that token, he's got a chance. So,
and by that token, the fact that it's A24, who also put out the Von Erich movie,
yes, Iron Claw,
which I loved, and I thought Zac Efron was so great, and he should have been nominated.
They got shafted.
Like that really got stuck. And Harris Dickinson, who was wonderful as David in that movie too. Those two to me should have been nominated for Oscars. I don't know why that film got completely lost in the middle. Like I thought it was a great film. I liked it, and I was born and lived during the time of the Von Erichs, and I remember how horrible it went in real time. It happened about everybody. So it is an A24 film with The Rock, and maybe it'd be nice for The Rock to do something dramatic that we're not just like, oh, here's The Rock again.
Yeah, he almost plays the same character in all his movies where he's like half comedy, half action star sort of thing. Really hasn't taken on a lot of dramatic roles. So this is kind of an opportunity to kind of go all in on that. So, I'm interested for sure. And it's an inspiring story. So it is an
inspiring story. Another thing I was going to say is I guess this would not allow him to come back as a final boss, but maybe at the end of the run.
People were like laughing. They were like making a joke that, oh my God, if this does this, his road to WrestleMania next year depends on if this movie is successful or not.
Yeah. That is funny.
But another thing that came out, I don't know if you were planning to talk about it, but CM Punk's TV series Revival also got, they just released information of that today, which premieres June 12th on Sci-Fi. So I'm looking forward to that. He's featured in that as a recurring guest star. He's listed. So really unique show.
Can you tell everybody what that's about? Do you have what it's?
Yeah, well, it's scripted original series based on the best-selling Image Comics series by Tim Seeley and Mike Norton. So it says, on one miraculous day in rural Wisconsin, the recently deceased suddenly rise from their graves. But this is no zombie story, as the revived appear and act just like they once were. When local officer and single mother Dana Cypress is unexpectedly thrown into the center of a brutal murder mystery of her own, she's left to make sense of the chaos amidst a town gripped by fear and confusion where everyone alive or dead is a suspect.
I love that. I'm dying because, of course,
it sounds awesome, right?
what I'm dying about is all of these things always take place in Wisconsin, where I'm from.
Not Cleveland? Are you sure?
Always, all the mass murderers and all the serial killers are from Wisconsin. So this there.
Well,
what is is
Punk filmed this while he was still wrestling. So he has that in production, and then a movie called Night Patrol. So that's also coming out, down the line. So he is he's making some moves. So more power to him.
And I think it's really interesting, and I think this is such an overall statement. Look at how viable these WWE superstars or wrestlers are now to motion pictures, television. They know they bring in an audience. They know they bring in an audience.
And I heard, not to cut you off, but I also heard Drew McIntyre, there's another announcement that's going to be made for him and a movie that he's going to be in, a pretty significant role. So we'll see what's up with that. I just want to shout out my girl, Rosie Cordero. I don't know if people know, but she's the reporter from Deadline that's been breaking all these wrestling stories, as well as she's the donut girl that CM Punk gave a donut to during the press conference not a while back. So she's been doing some great work.
Donut or eat the donut?
What was that?
Did she keep the donut?
I think she took a bite. I think she at least took a bite. So I do know that.
Well, another person, interestingly enough, in the news is my Cephala, Seth Rollins. There is an article in Daily Mail. It says the latest glitzy wardrobe choice from WWE star Seth Rollins, donning a blue and gold jacket on Monday Night Raw, set the accomplished professional wrestler back a whopping $13,500. The golden peacock long coat made by clothing brand Rata was worn by Rollins on Monday Night Raw. And they were going into his wardrobe, and that this was like a big, that's $13,500.
I don't know about the jacket, but I was definitely freaked out by his glasses. Those were terrifying to me.
Yes.
I feel like I was the Jungle Book. I was getting like hypnotized by it.
It said Messiah said Rostosh website has the coat's value alongside each coat being made to order with production time around 60 days. That means Rollins has his on-screen outfits well planned in advance. The coat also features tiny specks of green and pink on the animals. So does he plan it that much in advance?
I wouldn't be surprised. I don't know if you remember. I don't know why this is coming up in my head, but I don't know if you remember about 2023. He also went viral when he wore those big red mischief boots. So when he was he hit the Miz with a stomp wearing the boots. So you need to go back if you haven't seen it. But
I actually thought when he came out in this, I liked the jacket. I was like, it's not as like clownish, like. It wasn't like big shoulder pads and things coming out. And maybe this was the new suave look of his new look for the villainous heel turn. I didn't know, but I thought it was interesting to report that this was in the Daily Mail as a big article this week because of the amount of money that jacket costs.
I just need to see Seth Rollins at the Met Gala. I just think it would be. Oh! How is he not invited to this?
And Becky Lynch.
Yes.
And Becky Lynch. And speaking of Becky Lynch, let's discuss this, Scott. So we have not talked since she came out on Monday Night Raw, and she gave her reasons for turning on Lyra Valkyria. And I want to know what you thought of it. She admitted it was her that hit Bayley, and so there was no surprise. And the only thing that saves it if she becomes a Heyman girl. Other than that, I don't know.
I agree. There's got to be some sort of end game for that. If not, then I think they rush this been way too quick. So I think people like Lyra Valkyria, but they could have fallen really in love with her based on Becky Lynch. If they have kept this team going a little bit longer built the rapport with the fan base, got her over even more. Becky would have been a great heater for that. And then when the time was right, she strikes. She feels like she's getting a big head. She feels like she's, overshadowing her. She's getting jealous. That's when she strikes. And then the fans start caring about Lyra a little bit more. That I'm still kind of going based on that. I still think it was rushed. I do think they did a good job as much as they could based on how rushed this was. With Lyra, I think she stepped up a little bit more, showing a little bit more edge than she has before. So I do appreciate that. But once again, fans love Becky Lynch. So getting fans to continuously not like her is going to be a chore.
You just said it. They, no matter what, they like Becky Lynch. You just hit it on the head. So it's kind of like, is this even effective to pull? It's like they're still rooting for Becky Lynch.
I think maybe there's a feud with Bayley to come, but then it still makes Lyra look like, why did I don't know, as an afterthought, if you're going to bring Bayley back to have her feud with Becky Lynch. So we'll see. I just think
that's the other question I had before we move on real quick on the Bayley front. Per the interview we saw with her and Chris, a feeling like she's never as high up as Becky or Rhea up there on the totem pole. She's not, and Charlotte. Does this really do anything for her to have another feud with Becky?
That's the question. I'm not sure which direction they're going in. I'm just scratching my head at like why is this happening so quickly? Like, I think there's so much juice they could have did with Lyra and really kind of getting her over and elevating her a little more. But what do I know?
Well, I had my first experience at a TNA match. I went to Revolution. I have a few photos. First of all, there is Elias or whatever his name playing the
Elijah. Excuse me,
Elijah.
Ja.
And then here's a table. This was in the
what is that?
It's a table, and they were having signings at tables with some of the wrestlers that people were lining up for before the match. And that was that. So just to give you an example, I filmed a little thing for you. This is kind of where I was. And then there was this. That's all they were screaming for. So I got there and I had no idea. And it said 200 reserve. So I'm walking around and the guy takes me up in an elevator. I walk up. There is nobody there. I'm like, this can't be right. I said, I'm so sorry. I've never been here. Is this correct? Because I was up in the in the boonies, and there's nobody there, and the whole ring was blocked off. I'm like, why did you bring me here? He goes, well, you have to walk around, and I go, but I can't even see the stage.
What a weird venue.
So I had to walk all the way around, got up there, and I ran into two men with their sons, and they're like, are you sitting up here? And I go, yeah. Are you with the press? No. We just were given these tickets. So I go, can I follow you? Because there's like nobody here. So next to me, and the one guy hates pro wrestling. He went there for his son.
Aww.
So by the middle of it, he got up and left. And then these other guys showed up next to me who knew one of the sponsors or something. And they were like well-dressed 20-year-old guys.
Mm-hmm.
And they didn't like it either. Like they got up and left. Now I stayed as long as I could. I did not stay to the end because I didn't want to get stuck in the traffic. I just wanted to go home. So That's my,
Oh my gosh.
This was like, and I'm looking and people are leaving and I'm like, what is going on?
I don't know. I mean, how far was it that bad of a drive out that you had to leave early?
I didn't know what to expect. And I just wanted to get out because I didn't want to get trapped. And I thought, well, I'll just go.
What wrestle did you see? I think one thing that TNA does, which I actually like, because it has like that old school feel where they have the wrestlers before the show and after the show interacting.
I want to just make a comment.
Yeah,
I'm not saying it was bad. I enjoyed myself.
Yeah,
I enjoyed myself because I enjoyed like that. When you're around a bunch of people and more people kept coming in, these people that were there were not like us.
Yeah.
I feel like they were people that got tickets or were,
through a sponsor or
they just showed up because they were invited to a wrestling show. And what bothered me was next to me, there was one guy and then he disappeared. And then 4 different guys sat there and then a girl. Like there was just nobody was sitting down.
Weren't you giving like additional tickets too? So why were people sitting next to you? Yeah, I can't explain that. I just know, TNA's been on a roll lately when you think about their programming and their presentation and matches and things like that. And a big reason for that is the guy you see right there, Joe Hendry. I actually thought Kazarian was going to become champion that night because it was just his hometown sort of thing, and he has never won the championship. But considering what happened with Trick Williams, I guess this story is going to continue.
I did not. I was so mad because I literally just spent 3 minutes on a red carpet with Trick Williams in Vegas, and we were talking. A minute and a half of it's cut off. And you can't see that on my YouTube channel, but the first minute and 6 is there. And I didn't get the feeling that was gonna. I didn't think that was in the cards. Did you? I didn't see that coming.
No,
but
they did hint that somebody from WWE would be showing up during the show, so maybe a little bit.
But what I want to say is, they all are pushing Joe Hendry. He's getting a big push. Right? I mean, he got the spot with Orton in WrestleMania, even though I think they did it as partly a gag because of the Joe Hendry spin. But then this whole thing on NXT, didn't they just get a beatdown? So they're building him up. He constantly is getting beat up, and he seems to be the hero. I think. Do you see Joe going to the main roster in WWE?
Oh, I think it's not an if, but when. Like even Triple H said either was it to him or at some point, basically that this is going to be his first of many sort of things and to kind of get used to it sort of thing. But there's just a matter of time before he makes that full transition. I'm not sure when his contract with TNA ends, but I think he's going to be in this holding pattern where he's going to be on both shows. I mean, it's a win-win for them. So,
did you watch Revolution?
I did not. I was at Disney.
Well,
so I did not.
The minute, unfortunately, I'm embarrassed to admit this. Please forgive me. I was very much looking forward. I've never seen Masha Slamovich wrestle.
Oh, I love Masha.
So I literally had to leave when Masha came because I was worried about these weird people. I was worried because originally there was nobody in the seats, and later there was everybody in the seats, and I was like, I don't know. I don't like getting claustrophobic.
Well, Masha's amazing. Like, and they kind of hinted her showing, wrestling on TNA, NXT because she was in the crowd, but it really was just a shut up matches on TNA. But I thought you just, had a thing against Tessa Blanchard that you were like, I'm not watching.
No, you had a thing about. I don't. So what did Tessa Blanchard do that everybody's so controversial about?
So she made some rather controversial comments. Kind of, she has this reputation back in the day. She had a couple of, even Chelsea Green has talked ill about her and how she treats people. She's been billed a racist for things that she said. There was a run-in with La Rosa Negra, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah, where I think they met and kind of squashed things as best they could, I guess, in the situation. But that's just when you have that reputation. It's just going to be carrying it the whole time. So, I mean, I give her credit for kind of, in a sense, like making it through all that. But at the same time, if she just kind of addresses it like directly, maybe she just doesn't want to do that because of, she wants to come off as the villain, and maybe she's feeding off this energy and this controversy. But if she wants to move past this, which then she kind of needs to directly address it, and she really hasn't, in a sense. She's done interviews, but I even think I read something about them saying that not to say anything about, I don't know, not asking questions about it. I don't know, but I don't know what the situation is. But also, she kind of left a bad on top of all that, she left a bad taste in everyone's mouth when she was TNA champion and not coming over to kind of drop the belt or wrestle and defend a title sort of thing.
I think I know what my problem was. I had just come off 5 days in Vegas of Wrestle
Oh,
Down.
I totally, yeah. You were exhausted.
I think I was just so exhausted, Scott. I was so glad I got the opportunity to go because I wanted to see a TNA show, and it was here in LA. But I was just, I can't explain it to you, but I have talked to other people that went to Vegas. The journalists said they were just beat by the time. It was just a lot. It took a lot out of everybody. I think it's because of Vegas, like the setup in Vegas. It was just really. You're so lucky that you didn't go because it was very straining. And I wonder even if a person that is in good health like you are, I don't know. Like, it was difficult for me.
I mean, I'm just going by feedback I'm seeing on social media where they're like, if they do another Vegas show, I'm not going because of if it's going to be like the way it was, because it felt like everything kind of seemed close, but everything was not close, and everything was far and inconvenient, and it was hard to get around, besides being expensive.
I can't tell you, like, I had so much work to do and articles to write, but I was so exhausted every night that I couldn't. I slept longer than I want. Like, I just was beat every day. So I don't know about you other people, but that's how.
I mean, I've gotten. I don't know what Graham told you or what you when
Graham was tired.
Yeah,
really tired, really tired. And he did say the interesting thing that he shared that you and I have gone through. I know you've been invited to a lot of these pressers. I wasn't invited to any of the pressers afterwards. He was explaining how he got invited, not the first night, but was the second night. And he thought it was kind of a mess because he had to leave where he was sitting because he was in the audience. He had to figure a way back. Then there was an issue with that. And then when he had a good question to ask, they didn't call on him. They went back to the same people. So it was kind of like a mishmash in the media scrum that I think too, like, people were not happy, as we've talked about before. I mean, you've been in those, I have not, but it's just like how they call on people and whatever. And he said he never got picked to talk.
Yeah, I'm not sure how they decide that or what that was about, but these are different days. It's a new era right now, so
new era. Okay, quickly before we get to our guest, I wanted to ask you, what is your thoughts on Randy Orton and John Cena? The build for this match for Backlash. Is it like run it back? This will be great. It's classic. It's Orton and Cena, who've had this history of great matches before. It's in Orton's hometown, but is it just a lose-lose for Orton because they're going to keep the belt on Cena anyways?
I loved their segment on SmackDown this week. I just thought it was really well done. I thought both guys delivered, and I really kind of got that big fight feel, excited, nostalgia feeling. And I think they set the match up really nicely, which is they had to do that because let's face it, there's only a couple weeks in between, which is insane that you're having another show.
Yeah.
And then you're going to have Saturday night's main event. And then it's just a lot. So for what they did, I mean, they already have that existing history. I think they did enough to get fans excited about it, but it's very similar to the AEW scenario where it's Samoa Joe facing John Moxley and you're excited about the match, but you kind of know the result, unfortunately. So that's kind of what the same thing going to happen here.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up because my other big question is my guy, Hangman Adam Page, did defeat Kyle Fletcher and is going against Will Ospreay, and the winner goes to All In to face the winner of Moxley and Samoa Joe. And it's really funny because those are my two favorite guys in AEW. And obviously Ospreay.
Oh, you're torn now.
I'm not torn because I think it's got to be Ospreay, but I love Hangman Page, and I think it's nice to see him elevated back.
I mean, I wouldn't. Everyone's saying Ospreay, and I think too, but I wouldn't count out Page because, it's in Texas too. So, Hangman Page kind of veers towards that Texan kind of thing. So, I don't know.
But I think that what I'm trying to say is on paper, that looks to me like a match I'd love to see because they're both great in the ring.
Yeah, it's going to be a good match for sure.
And then what really makes me kind of is that no matter who it is, they go against Moxley. Like, I need this to end. Is this going to end at all?
Yeah, July. Yeah, July.
I only have like 5 more months.
Yeah, I just don't. I get a story and he's sticking to it, but hey, who are we to say? I mean, if the viewers are really there for these segments, then who are we to say that them not to do it? Tony Khan is a data guy, and I think Collision got this huge rating this past week. So, they're definitely moving a little upward trajectory, you feel a little bit, which is really nice to see. And that shows in their programming. I mean, the last Dynamites have been really good. So they've kind of been on a roll lately.
Well, we have a great guest. Santana Garrett is here from Women of Wrestling. And before we get to the interview, Scott, you'd known her. I mean, she's been around, which we talked about, right? And I don't mean that in a negative way. I mean,
yeah, I mean, I live in Florida, so I know Santana very well. She's run all throughout the independent scene. She's been a coach. She's had runs and all over, pretty much every single promotion. The grind, the work that she put in. She has all the tools to be, a top star. So it was unfortunate that didn't work out in WWE. I thought, she's definitely had a lot of potential, but more power to her that she found this brand, this opportunity. That's why when you see like a WOW Women of Wrestling or even Eric Bischoff in Hulk Hogan's promotion, the more places for people to work and get paid. I mean, who are we to say, don't do it if it's, an idea and it brings some sort of audience?
No, I've known Santana Garrett for a long time. I mean, in pro wrestling. And so I was really great to talk to her. So we caught up with her earlier today. Here is our chat with Santana Garrett. I've got a great guest today. Scott Fishman with TV Insider is with me, and we're welcoming Santana Garrett from WOW Women of Wrestling. It's so good to see you. Thank you for being here. So how are you? How are you today?
Life is good. Can't complain. Thank you so much for having me.
And you have a long-awaited triple threat match coming up on the May 3rd episode. It's you, Genesis, Paulo the Colombian Goat, and the chance to winner goes against the Classmaster for the WOW Championship. What do you think about this match, and what should we be on the lookout for? Are you going to kill this match?
You know it. So I've had my fair share of one-on-one in-ring time with both of these women, and it should be interesting. I truly believe that these are some of the best women wrestlers in the entire world, and triple threat. I mean, we're all going to go hard, and only a matter of time to see who's going to come out on top.
And you were the former champ, right? You had the belt for like 2016 to 2019.
That is correct. Former WOW champion, also former WOW tag team champion.
Right. So you held the belt one of the longest, right? Of
Yes.
The company? Yes. All right, Scott, take it away.
Well, I was just curious. You've been there through a lot of the evolution of WOW Women of Wrestling. And then before Jeannie, really kind of pushed at the forefront, you're in syndication. I mean, compared, this time, this era to when you were first starting with this company, and you've been so involved with it. So I'm just curious from your standpoint, what's the vibe now compared to when it was before when you were starting?
I feel like there's been such a revolution in not only women's wrestling, but in women's sports in general. And I just feel like now we are getting more respect that we've always deserved, but that's the biggest change, I think. And it's been incredible to watch how much, we've evolved.
I meant also just specifically, I'm curious from the WoW standpoint, like the way the operations are, the production, how the women are being trained and the characters are being developed. Talk a little bit about that from your vantage point.
Sure. So as far as like specifically WoW, the vibe has definitely changed. I feel like, the kinks are being worked out, and it's just improving overall. Locker room vibe, fantastic. The training, it's no joke. So I feel like everybody is just well polished and ready to rock it.
So I read that one of your favorite wrestlers is Trish Stratus. Was she an influence for you? And is that correct?
Yes, I growing up, I had a few different wrestlers that I looked up to, but Trish Stratus was definitely one of them. Lita, Trish Stratus, and Stone Cold Steve Austin, of course. I still hope it's in my bucket list to do a tag team match with Stone Cold at some point. But as far as Trish Stratus goes, yes, actually, I to pay homage to her, I use one of her moves as one of my moves. So.
Actually, my Trish Stratus story is I used to work for the WWE as a writer in 2000, and Trish was just starting, or near where she started.
Mm-hmm.
And I had the opportunity to like work with her on a promo and like write it for her and have her do it. And it was great. She couldn't have been greater. So I just thought that was really interesting when I saw you had Trish. That's my experience with Trish.
Yes. And I mean, have you guys seen her lately? She is just like fine wine. Oh my gosh, she's stunning.
Yeah. One thing that's fun for you is you have kind of this, you start out with the red, white, and blue, and it's kind of evolved into like all these different bright and colors and things like that. What was the inspiration behind your look? And I'm just curious because, you're known for like the headbands. I can't imagine how many of those you actually have, but talk a little how, where you kind of got the idea for.
Look, there I am.
There's the headband.
Great action shots there.
So it's funny because I actually started wearing the headband probably a couple years into wrestling because one of my trainers was like, Santana, in every single photo, your hair is covering your face. I have no good shots of you with your face. You've got to do something about it. So I started wearing the headband, and then eventually Scream Queen Daphne started calling it the headband of power. And then that eventually evolved into this like Wonder Woman-esque real life superhero, which aligns perfectly with WoW. And yeah, that's where the headband got its start, and it just kind of built on it from there. I've got my cape, my headband, my fun colors, and I am a real life superhero.
You had been, on the indie circuit. You'd been with WWE, NXT, TNA. You've done so much. I just am asked, what has been this career trajectory for you and the ups and downs of it? You've done a lot, and you've been in a lot of different organizations. How do you feel? How do you feel about the whole thing, and how difficult it may be for somebody to endure and go through it as a woman wrestler?
So as far as my own journey, I grew up wishing and dreaming of being a professional wrestler. In the second grade, I wrote a story about how I wanted to be a professional wrestler. At one point, my teacher went around the room asking all the kids what they wanted to do, what they wanted to be when they grew up. Some of the kids wanted to be ballerinas and doctors, but the teacher got to me and I was like, when I grow up, I want to be a professional wrestler, just like my dad. And so I feel,
dad, right?
yeah, my favorite person in the whole wide world. He's my biggest fan. And I wouldn't be here, if he didn't have that belief in me. So the journey, it had ups and downs, bumps, bruises, broken bones, but it's part of it. That's part of life. And I'm extremely proud of myself for how far I've come and everything I've accomplished. And it's not over yet. So.
And I know your dad was Kenny G, and he was big a wrestler and a promoter.
Yes.
Right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So you were kind of in the biz in a way.
Yes. Grew up in the biz. I mean, I grew up selling hot dogs and popcorn, taking tickets at the door. My father, TNT Kenny G, was a professional wrestler, small scale, trained by Dory Funk Jr. in Ocala, Florida, my hometown, and then became a promoter, not only in Ocala, but then also out in the Midwest, where he had high voltage wrestling in St. Louis, Missouri area.
I think I saw on the local news or something like, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you had some interest, because you talked about, selling hot dogs, but I think you've had some interesting jobs or careers outside of wrestling. Is that true? Or am I just remembering it wrong?
I'm curious to know what you heard.
No, maybe I'm wrong, because I don't know. I thought there was like something with a funeral home or mortician. I don't know. Maybe it was someone else. Sorry about that. But
I don't think.
What are some? But beyond that, on the topic of that, because of the grind of the wrestling business, what are some of the talk about just having that you're having another job and things like that, until you actually made it.
Right. So I went to school for sleep medicine. I was a sleep technologist for a while. But my wrestling career eventually took off and I wasn't able to do both. So I had to choose. And of course I'm gonna, choose my dream job. So started as a sleep technologist turned pro wrestler, and there were so many people who doubted me. Everybody I work with was like, "What? You're doing what? Well, that's crazy." Or "You're too small or too cute or too, or they're like, "Oh, like, in the mud or in the jello." I'm like, "Come on now. No, not that kind." So eventually over time, as I built my brand and built my name and really started to become known, then I got the respect, like, "Oh, this is what you meant. We thought you were doing something else." I'm like, "Nope, this is it. This would be it." And it's been an incredible journey. It's taken me all over the world, and I'm extremely grateful.
So sleep and mortician, it's kind of the same thing.
Yeah, pretty much the same. Both sleeping.
Yeah. I was going to say, what was it like, when you're with NXT or WWE or the other promotions, and they have squash matches, or you don't get to win, and there's nothing much, and you kind of come out. Do you feel like it's deflating at times? Like, how do you go through that until finally now, like, here you are, a big winner with the organization, you're top notch at WOW, but you kind of know what the women and other men too go through is when they have to come out, lose to somebody, and then finally get the flip of it.
Yeah, well, don't get me wrong. I went from being ranked number 4 as an independent wrestler for the women's PWI, which is unheard of as an indie wrestler, right? Went from being ranked number 4 to getting hired by WWE NXT to not really doing much. And when I did have matches, I didn't really win them ever. But I realized, okay, if this is what they brought me in for, they'll eventually see my potential. Every other company that I've worked for has seen it, has made me their champion. So I just have to prove to them why I belong and why I'm the best. I'm willing to work hard and prove myself. Unfortunately, that did not happen with the WWE, and that's okay. On to bigger and better things. WOW has always had my back and my best interest at heart, and from the very beginning they believed in me before I believed in me, if we go all the way back, and that's still true today.
Being the veteran, you have a lot of we talked about Paola. She's kind of been fairly new this season, comes from a unique background of reality TV, but really kind of has dedicated herself into becoming an in-ring performer. You being a veteran, how is it for you to work with this new talent and, kind of be that ring general and help? Because you're one of the most experienced on the roster and, most traveled. So you're kind of probably this wealth of experience and knowledge. I mean, how do you take that in and talk about the role that you have in WoW, to help the ladies around?
That's actually one of my favorite things. I'm a natural caregiver, caretaker. Like I love helping people. So I used to run an all women's wrestling training center here in Orlando, Florida. I would actually go to different wrestling schools and teach beginner classes and all women's classes. And that is another passion of mine, giving back. And I feel like I really didn't have that when I was coming in to professional wrestling. Granted, there weren't as many women in the sport. But that's something I wish I had. And it's not only about the in-ring, it's about locker room etiquette. It's about all these other things that you don't really get taught at a professional wrestling school. So frankly, I enjoy it.
And during your time on WoW, what has been the ultimate match do you think you've had? Is there one that you're like, I really killed it in that match?
Ooh, there's just been so many.
Give me a top 3 or 2.
So I would say the matches, not necessarily my best match or matches, but the ones that involved my father will always hold a special piece of my heart. I've never gone back to watch the episode right before my father passed away shortly after we filmed one of the episodes, and I still have yet to go back and watch that. But there's a photo on the internet of him in his wheelchair, just crying, and he's just so proud of me. And so I would say, even though I didn't go back and watch it because I would cry like a baby, I anything involving my dad, because that's a memory that I will always hold with me.
That's amazing. Scott, last question.
Well, I'm just curious about the future of WoW, because there's so much opportunity here, I think, as far as like things that we haven't seen. I know during the initial inception of company and things like that, what your thoughts are on stipulation matches. Like, we haven't really seen like kind of these big gimmicky type matches like cage match and things like that. What's your kind of take on, WoW kind of going into that more grittier territory?
Yeah, I think you're onto something. And I think we need a suggestion box. David McLean, let's go ahead and get that worked on. But I think, there's so many women that just reach out to me, and I don't have any control over who WoW brings in, but everybody wants to work at WoW. There are so many people that email me, text me, DM me. They're like, how can I be a part of WoW? How can I be a part of WoW? So as far as the future of WoW, they are constantly keeping it fresh, bringing in new faces, new characters, and the characters are on point. Like WoW is on top of that. And as far as maybe some grittier matches, I mean, I'm ready for it for sure.
Is there one in mind that you haven't done before, that
like a street fight?
Ooh,
a strap match? I don't know.
Fight.
Yeah, I would love a street fight. I don't think that's been done in WoW. So
David McLean, we're sending you our wish list.
Yes, exactly.
I'm not saying full on death match, but just a little bit. I know there's some rivalries going on right now that we're like, we want to see these ladies throw down.
Yeah. I mean, I have quite a few: Classmaster, Paola, Genesis. Like we've got my triple threat match coming up May 3rd. But I mean, we got to go somewhere.
I do have one question for you: baby face or heel? Do you enjoy being the face?
Okay, here's the thing. I'm just not good at like heel trash talk. My family makes fun of me. They're like, for Halloween, they wanted to create like a doll that you pull a string and it's got all my little sayings. And my husband, my son, they'd go back and forth and they'd be like, nobody's gonna dull my sparkle. Or I can't even think of all the like ridiculously positive things that I say, but they're like one by one, they were just going back and forth as if they rehearsed this. So I enjoy being like a bratty, sassy heel. I just can't trash talk. Oh, you're stupid, like,
I mean,
Oh,
you got to just
good
channel,
one.
when you're frustrated, the husband didn't do the dishes or, your kids misbehaving. You just got to channel all that and just kind of like let it loose.
I'll work on it. Something to work on.
All right.
All right, everybody. Thank you. Thank you so much, Santana, for
Yay,
visiting with
thank
us
you.
today. Make sure to watch the May 3rd episode of WOW Women of Wrestling on syndication on Saturdays for this triple threat match. I don't know. I think it's going to be, what do you think, Scott? Santana, Genesis, or Paolo is going to win?
I'm going with the veteran here.
I am too. I'm with Santana. Let's
Thank
go.
you. Thank
All right,
you.
everybody.
Let's go.
Thank you so much for visiting with us, Santana.
Of course. Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
I loved her. I thought she was great. And the thing that really touched me is when we were talking about favorite matches and she couldn't bring herself to watch back the thing because of her dad. And I knew that was, a very touching, would be very touching for her. So that you could really feel that, I thought, in the interview. And I thought she was a lot of fun. And I thought she was honest about her WWE thing too.
Yeah, I do appreciate her being so open with us and not trying to hold back and being, that's what makes you relatable to people and why your story can resonate for others, who have gone through things and lost someone, maybe not wrestlers, but they've, lost someone in their life and they, things bring up memories and all that stuff. So definitely appreciated that. And, very well spoken, well traveled. I mean,
I have to say, for interviews that I don't know about you, but I thought she did a wonderful interview, and sometimes you just don't get that. You know what I mean? You know that, right? It's like sometimes you don't get that. And I was like, she's really engaged and, professional.
Polished. She knows. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And it was not, and I didn't feel so polished that it was like completely.
No, they weren't like canned answers sort of thing.
Yeah. All right. Well, I guess it's late night there. And she's in Florida too, Scott. You're all in Florida.
Yeah, this is where it's at. The happening place, man.
I mean, it's got to be where it is. All right. Thank you so much, everybody. Make sure to watch Santana on WOW Women of Wrestling this Saturday, May 3rd on syndication, and look for time in your market for a big triple threat match. I guess we'll see how this Backlash card ends up filling out. I mean, we're getting Gunther and Pat McAfee, I guess, as well.
Yeah.
I don't know what they're going to do with Logan Paul.
Well, he's getting the title match against Jey Uso.
Right. So that'll be interesting. I don't know what else.
Becky Lynch, Lyra Valkyria.
So it's not bad. Shaping up.
No.
Not bad.
It's shaping up to be a good card for sure. And it's often those shows that are like sleeper shows. They end up being like some of the best shows ever. So.
The best shows ever. The best shows
Don't
ever.
sleep on these shows for sure.
Don't sleep on these shows. All right, Scott, have a good night. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.